I had a strong feeling Paul Thomas Rudolph's One Battle After Another would be the worst movie ever made. So imagine my humbling surprise that it turned out to be even worse. Much worse. Literally worse than the worst movie ever made. It is the worst movie that ever will be made or ever can be made. After watching this, there is no chance you can go to the movies with enthusiasm ever again. There is no chance you will ever care to rewatch any of the director's past movies you might have loved so much. Your love was wrong. You were fooled. Did all of them, like this one, have nothing to give but fucks? You'll never shake the suspicion that finally they didn't. You'll never wish to count yourself among the lowly forms of life who laughed at these fucks. The audience is the director's collaborator, and in what Holocaust, political or artistic, are collaborators guiltless? You'll want distance. But all is not lost. Sean Penn, at least, delivers a performance lazy and buffoonish enough to do the disaster justice. He succeeds where poor Leo, summoning every ounce of charisma and talent he has to imbue the screen with some vestige of life, sadly self-immolates. The picture as a whole will give a certain type of viewer who fell for the cowardly cleverness of Eddington a harrowing picture of what history would have looked like forever if the drunk, retarded TSA lady won. And the cloying, extremely pretentious, ear-splitting score will educate students on the limits of saving sight with sound. I wanted to leave 10 minutes in and 20 minutes in, and at every point in this 160-minute piece of shit projected in VistaVision in an old-timey little square box aspect ratio at select box socials at the Hootenanny Hour. God, he's so annoying. And I wish I got a lifetime ban from The Vista for sharing this warning on my phone in the middle of the movie, which really is the worst thing you'll ever see. Don't watch it. Keep your innocence, or it's all over for you, too. Don't listen to the PTA fans making excuses for how he merely doesn't pull it off. It hasn't yet sunk in for them that this is really the end. And that was my initial reaction to One Battle After the Other, as quoted in the Daily Mail. Have the days that have passed since made me modify my impression, maybe second guess my, bombastic vitriol? Nope. Only in one sense, I do think you should see it, and I do think you should go to the most artsy theater that's showing it in your neighborhood, and you should see it with the kind of people who are going to be laughing at it. You shouldn't let this one pass. I think you should see it. And I think you should seriously question everything you think you know about Paul Thomas Rudolph, maiden name Anderson, about cinephilia, about the movies. This is one of those movies that, the only reason that I said, the only reason that I think that this movie is not as bad as Eddington is because it's so much worse. Eddington is made by somebody who sees the truth but is a giant pussy. Ari Aster is a Red Scare girl. He knows what's up. Beau is Afraid showed that he knows what's up. And Eddington has some good qualities to it and some solid filmmaking. And that's therefore it is therefore a bigger moral failure and a far more dangerous movie, actually, in a moral sense, probably not in a practical sense, than this one. This movie shows you that its director, who I once thought was the best living director. Okay, I was once a PTA cultist. PTA, I always say PTA. I literally at one point referred to his first movie as Sydney in respect to him. I literally did that like once or twice, and my friend called me out on it. Garin called me out on it, and I was like, "Oh shit, busted." That was really that. I don't think I've ever done anything more shameful than referring to Hard Eight as Sydney in my entire cultural existence. Boy, do I feel like shit. Boy, does that feel bad. Boy, does it feel stupid to have ever thought that this guy is a serious artist. I was converted by There Will Be Blood. I hadn't really followed his career before that. That was in 2007. So I was 22 years old, coming out of college. This was a time, 2007, when I was trying to take matters of eternity seriously. I was not religious, but I was very kind of contemptuous and dismayed at the lack of interest in any kind of religious meaning that at the time was very much in vogue due to the Catholic Church scandal that was erupting. It had become basically it was just an afterthought to take anything religious seriously. This was the height of the new atheism. This was the height of the Christopher Hitchens, Richard Dawkins atheism fashion. It was partially due to the freedom of that time and also the aftermath of 9/11 and how that made religious extremism also seem extremely gauche, as indeed it deserved to be seen in its Islamic form. And I felt that There Will Be Blood, in addition to its technical wizardry and so on and the power of its performances, I thought that there was a real kind of energy to it which indicated a potential cosmic seriousness that I appreciated on the screen. I hated No Country for Old Men, and I hated that No Country for Old Men won the Oscar over There Will Be Blood, and I relished the confusion that There Will Be Blood elicited in the critics. At the time, There Will Be Blood, people didn't know what to make of it. It was not a beloved film. It was like everyone was like, oh, boo, boo, especially the critics. They didn't know what to make of it. It's not like what's happened now. This is so much history gets rewritten as people become elevated into this into sage-like status. It's the same with David Lynch. I mean, so much of what Twin Peaks: The Return is the nearest example of something that completely befuddled the Hive when it came out and has sort of been retconned into this beloved thing that it totally wasn't when it came out. Everyone has just erased their memories and gone on and revised, done the Hive, gotten the Hive update. The Hive did not know what to make of There Will Be Blood. I thought I was extremely impressed by it. When I saw it several years later, again on the big screen, I was extremely impressed by it. When I was in a mood to be impressed by it, and that's what made me kind of celebrate and rewatch all his movies and find the find all the good things in Magnolia while ignoring the shitty, stupid things, or the just youthful, kind of immature things. Really appreciate Boogie Nights, which probably is going to be the one that lasts beyond all the others, because it's about something real, which I don't think any of the others are ultimately about. But after watching this, it's the kind of movie that does erase. It doesn't just flop in the present day. It doesn't just disappoint. It doesn't just horrify, because it is a promotion. It is a call to terrorism. It's a call to political terrorism, to left-wing violence. Let there be no mistake about that. If you're trying to explain that away, if you're trying to, out of a wish to retain your cultish belief in Paul Thomas Anderson's artistic abilities or goodness, if you're trying to do that, you're coping hard. This is a call to left-wing violence, and people will die because of this movie, especially if it wins the Oscar, as it looks like it's going to. People will die for this. Now, that brings up the question of, I already got a message from Matthew Wilder, posing it's definitely a call to left-wing violence, but so is the Battle of Algiers, which it quotes. And, can a movie be aesthetically great while still being morally vile? This isn't Triumph of the Will. This is Triumph of the Will Stancil. This isn't a good movie. This is a horrible movie. This is a terribly executed movie. This is a poorly acted movie. This is a shittily scored movie. This is a crap-ass movie with no story. This is a comedy with no jokes except fuck, 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 and the occasional weed hit for comedy. That's all this is. This is crap. This is garbage. The hype for this is entirely fake, and it's completely astroturfed. As you saw with Sinners and maybe a couple other movies, in this last year or so, the last maybe half a year, they figured out how to game Twitter to generate a hype campaign that is completely fake. And all of the film critics and such are all fake. It's all AI botted. It's all, whether literally or not, it's all fake. Nobody except for political reasons thinks this is a good movie. If you tell a normal person to go see this movie, and by the way, the hype campaign is saying the hype is right. The hype is right, as opposed to the people who actually watch the movie. You're supposed to trust the hype, not the. This is a totally fake thing. It is being promoted for political reasons, and it is being supported for political reasons, and it is being laughed at for political reasons. This is everything evil about everything is contained in this movie. And I don't think that a person who makes a movie like this is capable of ever making another decent movie. I don't think the person who's made a movie like this has anything left to say. This is pathetic. And it does just make you go back and think, well, maybe it was all a sham. Maybe this guy, he's obviously a very skilled filmmaker. He's very talented. There's no question about that. But maybe he never really had anything to say. And maybe the qualities and the kind of gusto and the pizzazz of those movies, Boogie Nights, and even There Will Be Blood, and the impressive parts of Magnolia, maybe that was just youth. That was the genius of youth. Youth has a way of creating a vitality that doesn't carry over once you leave youth, because you have to have something to say once you're no longer young. And once you're no longer just sort of like enthused by life in this kid in a candy store way. He loves his characters. He loves his actors. Maybe he should love them less. Maybe he loves them too much. Maybe he shouldn't have married Maya Rudolph. not married or whatever they are, gay married. Maybe he shouldn't have adopted this SNL yes and attitude to every little fucking thing around him. Maybe his love affair with Philip Baker Hall was twee. And maybe his love affair with John C. Reilly was icky and unbearable. And maybe even the performance he elicited from Philip Seymour Hoffman in The Master, which purported to be this serious ultimate movie about Scientology and ended up being just a bromance between Philip Seymour Hoffman and Joaquin Phoenix. Who needs a bromance between Philip Seymour Hoffman and Joaquin Phoenix? Joaquin Phoenix, Joaquin Phoenix. Who cares? You know, I was generous about The Master. I was disappointed in The Master big time. That was my first big PTA disappointment. We were all expecting this great movie. It turned out to be this slight movie. It turned out to be this slight little bromance. And then when I rewatched it without the expectations, I was like, well, it's a fun movie. It's just, I can't imagine watching that now. It would. I mean, I'd watch it to test what I'm saying, but God, I saw a clip of it on Twitter the other day with Philip Seymour Hoffman screaming, "What do you want?" You know, like this fake drama, this fake intensity. It's like a just jump scare drama. This movie erases everything. It erases everything, and it turns one. We've seen already how creepy and weird this latest edition of cinephilia has been since COVID, with the unbearable audiences at the repertory theaters, the revival cinemas, and the way they laugh at everything and their little snooty, tranny-coded attitudes. We've seen all that. We've tried to just hold our noses, but God damn if this doesn't turn you into a cinephobe. This movie is not aesthetically good. It is not a matter of good triumph of aesthetics over politics or anything like that. That is a false lead, if that's where you're going with it. It cannot be excused. He didn't merely not pull it off. This should have never been released. This is pathetic. And he knows it, probably. I mean, I'm sure somewhere deep inside of him there is an awareness of how disappointing this movie is, which is why he had the score be so ear-splittingly overdramatic to try to carry us through the completely nonsensical, lifeless drama of the story, which involves white men being which involves super sexy black terrorists, bitches, who all the white guys are so horny for, including the ICE agents who, represented by a buffoonish, what's his name? A buffoonish Sean Penn. So it's the super sexy black left-wing terrorists. It's the ICE agents who are super horny for them. And the ICE agents all the white guys are either big fucking idiots like Leo, who's trying to help, who's married to the terrorist, but is an incompetent white dude, a bad ally, as Time magazine put it, another disappointing white ally, which is what that's all about. That's not a clever commentary on how stupid left-wing terrorists are. That's just about another dumb white guy, bad ally. That's what that's all about. So it's all about, we live in this bleak world of heroic, sexy, black left-wing terrorists and white guys who are Nazis who believe in Christmas. The secret Nazi organization is called the Christmas Adventurers Club. Imagine how that's like perfectly designed to make me want to detonate the vest. This is just, it's so bad that it's comical, which is why I jokingly say that it's better than Eddington. Of course, Eddington is a much more accomplished piece of work, so I actually condemn it more, actually. But this is just bad from A to Z. There's nothing good about it, and anyone who says there's anything good about it is just trying to be nice and is just trying to modify their horror. Bret Easton Ellis put it perfectly in 2 words, everything I've been saying. Liberal mustiness. That captures the aesthetic of it. That doesn't capture the politics of it. That captures the aesthetic of it. Liberal mustiness. Thinking that you're reading the room when you're actually only staring at a little tiny corner of it, as he also put it very astutely. That's the aesthetic of it. That doesn't speak of, that's not about the politics, it's not about the morality of it. That's the aesthetic of it. So yeah, you know, this coming from Paul Thomas Anderson and me and my knowledge, my intuition that it was exactly going to be this, and that it was this, and that I had to sit through it at 10:45 p.m. at the Vista, which is a cursed theater for me. I have seen 3 movies at the Vista on Hollywood and Hillhurst, or just past Hillhurst. 3 movies in my life at the Vista. This one, Zone of Interest. And when it came out 26 years ago or whatever, The Matrix. The first movie that ever bored me to death and drove a wedge between me and my peers, because everyone loved The Matrix. And I hated it. And, you know, joke's on you because I still have my penis. And there's another story related to the Vista. Decades before I was born, sometime in the 70s, my grandparents and their friends, you know, relatively recent immigrants at the time, all fixed up to go out for the movies one Saturday night. And they went to the Vista, not knowing that between then and the last time they had gone to the Vista had transformed into a gay porn theater. So the movie began, and, you know, it was a story. It was like that's back when the days when, you know, Boogie Nights, a la Boogie Nights, the porn had good production value, and, you know, there was some kind of story, and then all of a sudden things started to get weird, and they all freaked out. So the Vista is cursed. The Vista is cursed. I saw it at 10:45 p.m. The audience, I really did want to scream. I wanted to protest, like, and self-immolate and do a Palestine protest in the middle of the movie. Everything about this, the fact that it's 3 hours, the fact that it took him 5 years or whatever to make this, the fact that it has all these associations with Thomas Pynchon, who cares? If this is the effect that Pynchon has on people, run the hell away from Thomas Pynchon. Inherent Vice was a piece of shit. Also, much better than this, but a piece of shit. You know, just an unserious weed muddle. I'm probably going to read that book at some point. And I remember enjoying The Crying of Lot 49. But Inherent Vice, that's where it started to go down, really far down for him. And, you know, I'm not going to blame Thomas Pynchon over Mayor Rudolph, but for destroying his muse, or being, you know, whatever, his little muse relationship. But it's just bad. It's just bad. All of the bells and whistles around this thing for such a piece of shit. It would be one thing if PTR was putting out movies every year, you know, like Woody Allen. And this was one of them. And you'd be like, oh God, this one sucks, but there's going to be another one in a year. There was one last year. No. The fact that he took so much time to put something like this out, which should not have been released. It should have been re-edited or something. Something should have, like, this is like one of those, like, this is an all-time embarrassment. And it's going to be elevated. It's already his best-selling, I think it's highest box office of any of his movies. And it's probably going to be astroturfed into an Oscar. And that sort of just, that sets the whole entire cinema thing aflame. This is like the second LA fires this year that has burned everything down. And this one came to Hollywood, and this one came down the hill and burned down Hollywood. These people are destroying everything. They're destroying everything. They want us all dead. They want themselves dead because they're nothing. They're nothing anymore. They've destroyed themselves. They've sold their souls out. They're nothing. They're pieces of shit. Look at the pictures of Paul Thomas Anderson. He looks like a ghost. He looks like a fucking ghost. And it's time that people question a lot of things that they have carried over and that they still pay tribute to. The concept of art for art's sake is bullshit. And that doesn't mean, there's a very wrong lesson being drawn from the last 10 years in which politics destroyed art, which is that there is such a thing as art for art's sake that isn't bullshit, and that's bullshit. That is not the correct takeaway, and it is not the correct reaction, and it's not a serious view of things. That's just the art for art's sake, the desire to be apolitical now, the desire to wash your hands of everything is a cop-out. It's magical thinking. You're trying to evade the responsibility of standing up for the truth. And I'm going to talk about this more at length in the next main episode, which it'll be about Somerset Maugham, who of all people came to a very shocking conclusion about the value of art. And I'll talk about that in the next. It's going to be a long one, but I was very pleased that I could finally pay tribute to Somerset Maugham, who's really underrated these days, especially as a thinker, and to do it in a way that's kind of relevant to this gaping hole of a cultural problem on our hands. There's a lot that people need to get their shit together, because everything is going down. I look around my city, and not only is my hometown gone completely, more on that soon, not only is so much of this gone, and not only are there zombies everywhere still, and not only, but the entire hope for the future is just there's a straw in it, and the milkshake of the future is being slurped away by retards. How can you battle the AI thing? How can you battle anything? How can you make a claim for yourself if this is your shining the shining prize of analog cinema, of the history, if this is what it's come to? How do you make a case for anything Hollywood or America related? Everyone needs to get their shit together fast, or it's all going to be gone. All of it, every last bit of it, and any hope for a revival in the future. I do not want to let that happen. Shame on you, Paul Thomas Rudolph Anderson. Shame. And shame on everybody who laughs at these fucks